I love Facebook, I love memes, and I love talking to new people. I even love long comment sections, etc. That being said, I never give any personal information, such as where I work or where I live. My birthday info is private, so on and so on. I've made quite a few friends that I don't know personally, but agree with or had really good discussions with. So after commenting back and forth on a friend's post for a while, it was no surprise to me when Tyler messaged me. It started off fairly simple. We just talked about the post we commented on, and common interests. I was excited to have a new friend. He seemed pretty interesting, and we had a lot in common. I'm not a beauty queen or anything, but I let him know after about an hour of casual conversation that I was taken happily. I enjoyed his friendship, but it wouldn't lead into anything more since I'm going to get married next year. He seemed a little upset, but respectful. I told him goodnight and went to sleep and thought nothing of it. The conversation continued for a few days. He started to get a little pushy if I didn't respond immediately, and I told him that I was busy, so I may not always answer right away. And then he apologized and told me that he was just bored and lonely. I started to put a little distance because he didn't really back down, but I didn't want to completely give up my new friendship because I hated the fact that he was so lonely. One day, he randomly messaged me saying that he wanted to have me in his arms. I immediately nipped at that, reminding him of my relationship, and telling him if he didn't stop, then our friendship would be done, because I respect and am loyal to my fiancé. He immediately lost his shit, messaging me saying he didn't care about my fiancé, and making threats towards him, etc. I stopped messaging and selected to put his messages on ignore. He could still message me, but it wouldn't go to my inbox. I made a post about it, and a friend of mine commented and said he had done the same thing to her, except he knew where she lived and would show up outside her house. I freaked out and I went to see if there were more messages from him. This is where the shitstorm really begins though. He messaged me over a dozen times, different things, started off kind of taunting me for not answering, then moved on to him messaging me about some asshole who cut him off or was driving too slow for his taste. Then to him saying he was going to shoot the guy and it would be my fault because I made him so angry by ignoring him. I messaged him telling him to leave me the hell alone, and I stopped replying for a while. He started messaging me and narrowing down on where I live. That really freaked me out, as I had never told him where I lived or anything even remotely close to my house. The only thing I had ever said was I'd talk to him later because I was going to Arby's to get some food, and my phone was dying. Yet he somehow knew I was 7 minutes from the Arby's by my house, exactly how long it takes to walk there for me. And there are several Arby's in my city. Then he started narrowing down to what street I lived off of, down to knowing a 4-door black sedan was linked to my address, which there was, but not in my name. It was in my sister's name when she registered it as an Uber. But that was enough for me, and I called a non-emergency line. The police refused to do anything, of course, saying until he actually showed up or did something, there was nothing they could do. Just never mind the fact that he was sending me pictures of dead people and saying that was going to be my family and was narrowing down my address. Unless he actually showed up, I was screwed. All I could do was apply for a protective order, so I did. Tyler kept messaging me, so I told him there was a PO in place, and he needed to leave me alone. He responded with, there was nothing that could be done until he was served and signed it, which is true. My fiancé is in IT, and he has a cousin who was pretty tech savvy as well, and managed to get the last couple of addresses Tyler had, but the police couldn't find him at either of those. We had license plate numbers, address, full name, birthday, etc., yet he seemed untraceable. He stopped for a while, but the day of my court case to have the PO extended to 2 years, he started again. My fiancé filed criminal charges for the threats he made. He said, someone could come shoot you in 15 minutes. His last known address was exactly a 15-minute drive from my house. I've spent the last couple of months completely afraid. He was arrested and served finally. I think he was speeding or something, and it turns out he has a history of this. Multiple charges, all dropped or dismissed. He's done it to a couple of my friends who showed up to my court case for the criminal charges. They dropped everything from felonies to a misdemeanor, disorderly conduct charge, with 12 months jail time, depending on his behavior, because they couldn't prove it was him and not someone else behind the keyboard. Especially with me never seeing his face IRL before the court date. Even though I had 2 people who had received messages from him, and seen him face to face as well. I can't sleep. The slightest noise wakes me up panicking. It's been hell for my family. So me being a 16-year-old female growing up in a sheltered household, I was a nerd and I still am, so I did a lot of online roleplay because I found it was a great outlet for my writing and I really enjoyed the people. On one forum, I met a guy named John. John and I had a lot of fun with our role-playing and eventually our characters ended up together, which brought on real feelings from me and him. He told me he was 17 and was going to high school in Washington, while I lived in California. We would talk for hours online, messaging one another, sending pictures back and forth. Well, things took a step up when he asked me to go on to video chat with him, one day to prove that I was a girl. Seeing as I trusted John, I agreed and I got on the cam. He didn't have a camera, claiming he used a family computer and couldn't convince his parents the need for one. Then being on camera with him became a regular thing. Just me sitting there on camera and him typing back. That's when he started to ask me to do stuff. It started out simple. I thought it was harmless flirting and I complied like an idiot. He would tell me that he was falling for me and that I was beautiful, and me being a young girl with image issues, I fell for every single line. So we pretty much became boyfriend and girlfriend as much as you can be with someone you never met. I was desperate to make him happy and keep him around because I had 2 boyfriends previously, and both ended with heartache on both sides of the coin, so I was lonely. So when he started asking me to do more things on camera and I hesitated, he would always use the line, "I thought you loved me," and I'd cave. For a long time I felt ashamed of myself, and now I just feel stupid. He would send me graphic pictures of himself via well-placed digital camera angles that never showed his face, that he would upload an email to me. It made me uncomfortable, but I wasn't going to make him angry and tell him to stop because I thought I needed him. But then things got worse. We texted a lot back and forth, but when I wouldn't text him back right away, he would start bombarding me with messages of why I hated him, and why I wouldn't answer, and claims of cheating on him. It was overstressing me so much that I finally caved and told one of my female friends about it, and she told me that his behavior was abusive and I should tell him to knock it off or break up with him. So I did. The next time he went off on me, I told him, "I'm not okay with you emotionally manipulating me, so either stop doing it or we are done." And of course he lost his shit. Started cussing up a storm, calling me names, saying I was a horrible person. So I told him we were over. I cried for 2 days about this, which felt like forever. It hurt, but my friend consoled me and told me it was for the best, and that I'd move on to something healthy. He started to message me every time I got online. His messages ranged from calling me names to begging me to take him back because he loved me. I finally blocked him and left the forum game where I first met him. He would make a new Yahoo account and message me again with the same shit. Then he started telling me how depressed he was, and that I should feel sorry for him. Because I'm a nice person, I fell for it. We talked for hours via text, and I took him back if he promised not to do anything. He said he wouldn't if he could see me again online, so I got on camera with him. Then he told me to do things for him, and I tried to say no. But he said I would if I cared about him. It was at this moment, my friend's words popped in the back of my head, telling me that I deserved someone who wasn't going to manipulate me and stuff. I told him no and to fuck off and to not message me anymore. I blocked him, made a new account for myself, and made a new email and thought it was done. Fast forward about 2 weeks, I had not heard anything from him for the past 2 weeks. No texts or emails or anything. I thought I was in the clear and done with him. One day after school, I was waiting by the bus stop in front of the school to head home. I was not alone, but in a crowd of classmates and friends as we waited. Suddenly, a brown sedan pulled up, and a man in his mid-20s stepped out of the car and started saying my name. I looked around because A, I was in a crowd of people, and B, my first name is very common. So I thought maybe he was talking to someone else. That's when he walked straight up to me and grabbed me very roughly by the shoulders and started pulling me towards his car. I screamed out for him to let me go, but his fingers were like iron. Luckily, the other students around took action and some of the guys rushed the dude and tackled him to the ground while some others went and got our school police officer. He kept screaming my name and telling them to let him go and that he was my boyfriend. I was stunned to say the least. The cops came and put him in cuffs. Apparently, this man was John. He lied to me about his age and where he was from. He had tracked me down to what school I went to, which he discovered from a school sweater I wore one day on the webcam. The cops searched his car and found rope, duct tape, sleeping pills, some women's clothing, and a big knife. After the investigation, my parents told me what his plan was from his testimony. He was going to take me away, and we were going to get married and be happy. It still makes me shiver to this day. I've kicked myself for years over how stupid I was to give this person I knew nothing about information about me, as well as let him manipulate me into doing whatever I did. He had a record from what my mom told me that he assaulted a girl when he was 19 and she was 14. The last time I saw him was when the cops took him away, and he just kept staring at me from the back of the police car crying. I had a stalker from Xbox Live try to find me at work a few days ago on Monday. I'm only 17 and I work second shift at my local movie theater. It was Friday night, my weekend had just begun. I was on Xbox Live and playing Overwatch, eating cold pizza. I was kicking considerable ass, more than I usually was at this game, and I was on fire. At around 2 AM, I decided to step up my game and go into competitive mode. I got into a new match, and I got a 15-player kill streak, but I noticed 5 of those kills were on the same guy, a player playing the character Bastion. I remember his username. The match goes on for about another minute, and then I get an invite to a party. The gamer tag was the same as the Bastion I just killed for the 6th time. I wasn't in a party since all of my friends had called it a night, except for me at that point. I decided that whatever he wanted to say could be interesting, so I add him. Now, I usually expect some kids, a few years younger than me, to be talking shit, but to my surprise, it was a grown man on the other end. More to my surprise, he sounded in his 30s, rather than closer to my age, and he had a thick Spanish accent. Immediately, this guy starts cussing me out. I can't lie when I say I half expected this to happen when I got a party invite anyway. Now, I have the mentality where if you're a jerk to me, I'll return the favor. I replied with the classic, "Oh, you mad, bro?" Guy doesn't acknowledge what I say. Instead of saying he would fuck my mom like most people did, this guy said, "Fuck you and your entire family. I'll make sure to decapitate your mother and make your dad fuck her down the goddamn neck." I was sort of shocked by this, but it didn't last. "Bro, take a fucking chill pill," I said. "No, I want you to." He stopped. I noticed why. A diva on our team had just killed this Bastion hero again. Now this is where things get scary. It sounded as if he turned into a rabid animal that was trying to suffocate itself on the mic, and screaming and howling and spitting all at the same time. It's difficult to describe exactly what sound he was making, but that's the closest I can do. Inhumane noises were coming from this person, as if he was being gutted and possessed by a demon at the same time. It was a grown man too, which made the entire thing scary, compared to laughing my ass off when a 12-year-old loses it. The match ended. The enemy team didn't even get the payload moving. The man loses his shit some more because he lost. Then I decided to be an asshole again, and not take this crazy guy's shit. Look, it's not our fault you suck at the game. You're just being treated like the child you really are. Grow the fuck up. The guy obviously didn't like this, and he just screamed, "Fuck you," into the microphone for no joke at least 20 seconds. It started getting all crackly, and he was being so loud he was breaking his mic. He then removed me from the party. I decided that since the match was over, I would just call it a night, just like my friends had. My overall reaction to what went down was, okay, that was something. So I logged out, turned off my Xbox, and went to bed. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I realized how much of a dumbass I was for not recording any of it. My friends would have fucking lost it when they heard it. Then I fell asleep. Saturday went by with nothing, and I thought that was that with the Spanish guy. The following Sunday, I logged into my Xbox that morning to play some more Overwatch. I noticed I had a message from the guy saying, "Good morning." And he said my full name. "I know you have to go to the exact address of the movie theater I worked at tomorrow." What the fuck? I said aloud. I decided to pull out my phone and take a picture of the TV screen. I then texted my boss about it and told her that some guy on Xbox somehow found out where I worked. Now, my boss is a bitchy old lady, so naturally she didn't care what happened on Xbox. Even though it concerned my work, she just blew it off and told me I still had to come in the next day. A bunch of great new movies just came out, so we were going to be busy. I ended up coming in the next day at 5:30. It was pretty boring and busy like I predicted, up until about 8 o'clock when a super short guy came in through the door. It was loud and pretty crowded, but the guy fucking hollered my name. Same thick Spanish accent from Xbox. Oh fuck, I thought, it was him. I still to this day don't know where he got my info from, or why he decided to come all the way out to where I worked. The theater fell silent. I just walked to the back room where my boss was and told her that the guy from Xbox was inside. She repeated the whole, "I don't care what happens to you on Xbox, get back to work, we're busy." I repeated to her that the guy was inside the building. I didn't know if he wanted to hurt me or not, and that I was going to call the cops. I ended up actually calling the cops. It wasn't until they arrived and spoke to me privately in the back room that my boss ended up taking me seriously. This guy was still inside the lobby, and the cops put him in cuffs and walked him out. This is according to my boss, because I was in the back room so I couldn't witness it. I still haven't heard anything from the police, and I still don't know how he found my info or why he came all the way to where I worked. And I still don't know what he planned to do to me. Either way, I'm still a bit shaken up over it. I don't know if he knows my home address or not either. And I'm pretty much on guard 24/7. Either way, I own 2 dogs that can scare off anyone, but I'm still pretty terrified of this guy.